What's the most you'd spend on a boat? $100K? A million? How about $1 billion? Yeah, you heard that right. You think you know luxury? Think again. We're about to dive into a world where yachts cost more than entire countries. We're counting down the top 15 most expensive yachts in the world, and the prices are so insane, you might need to sit down for this one. These aren't just boats, they're floating palaces. We're talking about yachts with their own submarines, helipads, and even T-Rex bones. No, really. The combined value of these 15 yachts? It's more than some countries' GDPs. Solange. Welcome on board Solange, the $150 million behemoth that'll make your jaw drop. This bad boy is 279 feet of pure opulence. That's longer than a football field, folks. But it's not just about size, it's what's inside that counts. And boy, does Solange deliver. Ever heard of a yacht with 50 different types of exotic wood? No? Well, now you have. The floors of this floating mansion are like a global tour of the world's rarest trees. You're literally walking on millions of dollars with every step. But wait, there's more. You like swimming? Solange has got you covered with multiple pools across different decks. Yep, you read that right. Multiple pools on a boat. Because why settle for one when you can have many, right? Now let's talk about relaxation. Ever been in a Turkish bath? Well, Solange has a hammam on board. It's like a spa day every day. But here's where it gets really wild. This yacht has a snow room on a boat. It's got a sink and crane to make snow, so you can go from sunbathing to snowball fights in about 30 seconds flat. Who's behind this maritime masterpiece? The exterior was designed by Espen Oino, a big shot in the yacht world. This guy knows how to make a boat look good. And the interior? That's the work of Aileen Rodriguez. She's the one who thought, you know what this yacht needs? A snow room, and we're here for it. The folks at Rob Report describe Solange as having a sleek exterior with elegant, clean lines, while the interior is full toxie, the brim with extravagant amenities. Talk about an understatement. And who built this floating palace? None other than Lürsen, the German shipyard known for cranking out some of the priciest boats on the planet. These guys don't mess around when it comes to luxury. So there you have it, Solange, number 15 on our list of the world's most expensive yachts. It's got more wood than a forest, more pools than your local YMCA, and a room that makes snow. Rising Sun. Say hello to Rising Sun, a $200 million floating palace that's gone from Oracle to Hollywood. This beast was built for Larry Ellison, the Oracle big shot, back in 2004. But here's the twist. It's now owned by David Geffen, the music and movie mogul. Talk about a power move. Imagine the conversations that went down during that sale. Rising Sun isn't just big, it's massive. We're talking 86,000 square feet of living space. That's bigger than most mansions. You could fit 4 NBA courts in there and still have room for a house party. But size isn't everything, right? Wrong. Rising Sun's got features that'll make your head spin. Ever heard of a yacht with its own basketball court? Well, now you have. Geffen can shoot hoops while cruising the Mediterranean, because why not? And get this, it's got a wine cellar. A wine cellar on a boat. You know you're rich when you need a separate room just for your fancy grape juice collection while you're at sea. But wait, there's more. Rising Sun's got a gym, because apparently swimming in the ocean isn't enough exercise. And a cinema, because watching movies on a regular TV is for peasants. Now let's talk speed. This bad boy can hit 28 knots. That's fast enough to outrun most pirate ships, not that they dare mess with this floating fortress. And the bedrooms? Oh boy, there are 9 cabins that can fit 18 guests. That's like a small hotel. And get this, there's room for 46 crew members. That's more staff than some companies have. But here's the kicker. Rising Sun was designed by John Bannenberg, the legend himself. It was the last yacht he designed before he died in 2002. Talk about going out with a bang. Octopus. This bad boy was built for Paul Allen, the Microsoft co-founder. But Allen wasn't just looking for a fancy boat to party on. Nah, he wanted something that could explore the oceans and help scientists do their thing. And boy, did he get it. Octopus is 414 feet long. That's like lining up 4 blue whales nose to tail. But it's not just big, it's packed with cool stuff. Ever heard of a yacht with its own submarine? Well, Octopus has one. It's bright yellow and it's called Pagu. Sounds like something out of a cartoon, right? But wait, there's more. This yacht's got a remote-controlled vehicle that can dive thousands of feet underwater. It's like having your own personal deep-sea explorer. And get this, there's even a hyperbaric chamber on board, you know, in case you need to decompress after all that deep-sea diving. Now, you might be thinking, okay, but what about the fun stuff? Don't worry, Octopus has got you covered. It's got 13 fancy bedrooms, a bunch of bars because one is never enough, a movie theater, and even a basketball court. You can shoot hoops while cruising the ocean. How cool is that? But here's where it gets really wild. Octopus has its own recording studio. No joke. You could make a whole album without ever stepping foot on land. Maybe that's why Mick Jagger hung out on this boat once. And if you're thinking of dropping by for a visit, no problem. Octopus has not one but 2 helicopter landing pads, plus a hangar to keep those choppers safe and dry. It's like a mini airport on the water. But remember, this isn't just a party boat. Octopus is a serious research vessel too. It's loaded with high-tech gear for scientists to study the oceans. Alan even loaned it out for research trips. Imagine being a scientist and getting to work on this thing. Talk about a dream job. Aviva. Ever heard of a yacht with a full-size paddle tennis court? Well, now you have. And get this, when they take the nets down, it turns into a soccer field on a boat. It's like they couldn't decide between a yacht and a sports arena, so they just said, why not both? But Aviva isn't just about sports. This thing's got some serious eco-cred too. It's got a hybrid propulsion system that lets it cruise at 11 knots using just electric power. That's like having a Tesla but for the ocean. And when they need to go faster, they can kick it up to 20 knots with the diesel engines. It's like having your cake and eating it too. But the cake is a massive yacht and you're eating it while playing tennis. Now, let's talk style. Aviva's got curves in all the right places with its blue exterior. It's like the designers looked at other yachts and said, nah, too boxy. Let's make this one look like it's always in motion. And the inside? It's so modern and chic, it makes most luxury hotels look like they're stuck in the 90s. But here's the kicker. They built this thing in just 33 months. That's less time than it takes most people to decide what color to paint their living room. And we're talking about a 323-foot yacht here. Now, you might be wondering, who needs all this space? Well, Aviva's got room for a whole bunch of guests in its fancy staterooms, and the crew. There's plenty of space for them too, because when you're on a yacht this big, you need a small army to keep it running. So, who owns this floating paradise? Word on the street is, it belongs to British billionaire Joe Lewis. And get this, it's actually the sequel to a smaller yacht, also named Aviva Almir Cab. Talk about a mouthful of a name. But when you're dropping 300 mil on a boat, you can call yourself whatever you want. Almir Cab isn't just big, it's massive. We're talking 436 feet of pure luxury. That's longer than a football field and a half. You could fit 4 blue whales end to end and still have room for a dolphin or 2. But it's not just about size. This yacht's got style for days. The outside was designed by Tim Haywood, a big shot in the yacht world. This guy knows how to make a boat look good. And the inside? That's where things get really wild. The interior was done up by Andrew Winch. And let me tell you, this guy doesn't mess around. We're talking Arabic-influenced motifs on marble floors. It's like sailing on a floating palace from 1001 Nights. But wait, there's more. Almir Cab's got a swimming pool on the lower deck that can open up to the sea. That's right, you can go from pool to ocean in seconds. It's like having your own private beach club, but it moves. And if you're worried about where to put all your friends, don't be. This yacht's got room for 36 guests in fancy staterooms. That's more than some small hotels. And to make sure everyone's taken care of, there's room for 45 crew members. That's a lot of people to remember to tip at Christmas. But here's where it gets really crazy. Almir Cab's got 2 VIP suites, because one just isn't enough when you're this rich. And if that's not enough, there are 10 more suites for other guests. It's like a floating apartment complex, but way fancier. And of course, what's a luxury yacht without a jacuzzi and a helipad? Because sometimes you just need to helicopter in for a quick soak. But even the fanciest yachts need a tune-up now and then. In 2014, Almir Cab got a refit to keep it looking fresh, because when you're spending $300 million on a boat, you want to keep it in tip-top shape. So there you have it. Almir Cab, a yacht so fancy it makes other luxury yachts look like rubber duckies. Polaris. This yacht's been passed around more times than a hot potato at a family picnic. And trust me, its owners are way more interesting than your Uncle Bob. Polaris started its journey back in 1999 when a Saudi businessman named Sheikh Abdul Mohsen decided he needed a fancy boat. But get this, he barely got to enjoy it before it was sold to Roman Abramovich. You know, the Russian billionaire who used to own Chelsea Football Club. Yeah, that guy. Now, Abramovich wasn't content with the yacht as it was. Nah, he had to add his own flair. So what did he do? He slapped another helicopter pad on it. Because one just wasn't enough, apparently. You know you're rich when you need two places to park your choppers. But here's where it gets really wild. In 2009, Abramovich's ex-wife Irina got the yacht in their divorce settlement. Talk about a parting gift, right? But she didn't keep it for long. She flipped it to David Geffen, the music mogul, for a cool $300 million. That's more than some countries' GDPs. But wait, there's more. The yacht changed hands again, this time to a UAE sultan. And just when you thought this boat was done playing musical chairs, a Hong Kong real estate billionaire named Samuel Tuck Lee bought it in 2016. Now, let's talk about what makes Polaris so special. This thing's got more fancy features than a Swiss Army knife. We're talking multiple terraces with doors that open right to the sea. It's like having your own private beach, but it moves. And get this, the whole yacht's got this indoor-outdoor vibe. It's like they couldn't decide if they wanted to be inside or outside, so they just said, why not both? But here's the kicker, Polaris is actually one of the smaller yachts on our list. I know 115 meters sounds huge, but in the world of mega yachts, it's like a dinghy. It's got a volume of 5,317 gross tonnage. Motor Yacht A, you thought Polaris had a wild history? Wait till you see this next yacht. It's so weird looking, people aren't sure if they love it or hate it. We're talking about Motor Yacht A, a $300 million floating sculpture that'll make your head spin. This thing was designed by Philippe Starck, the same guy who makes those funky lemon juices and ghost chairs. And get this, he sketched the whole design on a napkin in just a few minutes. Talk about a quick doodle turning into a mega $1 million project. Now you might be thinking, what kind of billionaire wants a yacht that looks like it came out of a sci-fi movie? Well, that'd be Andrei Melnichenko, a Russian industrialist who's not afraid to stand out. This guy wanted a yacht that'd turn heads, and boy, did he get one. Motor Yacht A isn't just weird looking on the outside, it's got some crazy features that'll blow your mind. Ever heard of a yacht with 3 swimming pools? Well, this one's got 'em, and one of them has a glass bottom. Imagine swimming and looking down at the ocean below. It's like having your own floating aquarium. But here's where it gets really wild. This yacht's got a special bow that looks like a giant pelican beak. It's not just for show, it actually helps the boat cut through waves better, so it's not just pretty, it's practical too. And if you're worried about space, don't be. This thing's 390 feet long and 62 feet wide. That's bigger than some apartment buildings. It's got room for 14 guests and 42 crew members. That's right, 42 people just to keep this floating palace running. But you know what's really crazy? Melnichenko only kept this yacht for about 10 years before he replaced it with an even bigger, more expensive one. That's right, he traded in his $300 million toy for a $578 million one. Because when you're that rich, why not upgrade? So there you have it. Motor Yacht A, the boat that looks like it came from the future. Dubai. This beast was supposed to be for Prince Jeffrey of Brunei, but get this, he only got the bare bones done before he bailed. Talk about a change of plans. So there it was, just a hull and some metal sitting around like a half-finished Lego set. But then the government of Dubai swooped in and said, "We'll take it from here." And boy, did they take it to the next level. When they were done, this thing was 162 meters long. That's like lining up 18 school buses end to end. It was so big, it held the title of world's largest yacht for a while. Even now, it's still in the top 5. No biggie, but size isn't everything, right? Wrong. Dubai's got features that'll make your head spin. Ever heard of a yacht with a submarine garage? Well, now you have. You can literally park your sub inside this boat. It's like having a garage for your car, but way cooler. And if that's not enough, it's got water bikes. Water bikes, because sometimes you just need to pedal around the ocean, I guess. But wait, there's more. This thing's got a helipad big enough for a Black Hawk helicopter. You know, in case you need to make a dramatic entrance. Now, let's talk about power. Dubai's got 4 engines, each one pumping out 8,479 horsepower. That's more power than a whole herd of race cars, and it can hit speeds of 26 knots. That might not sound fast, but for a floating city, it's pretty impressive. But here's the kicker. This yacht can fit 115 guests. That's more people than some small towns. And to keep everyone happy, there's a crew of 88. That's right, 88 people just to keep this thing running smoothly. So who owns this floating paradise? None other than Sheikh Mohammed bin Rashid Al Maktoum, the ruler of Dubai. When you're in charge of a place like Dubai, you need a yacht to match. And at $400 million, this thing better be impressive. So there you have it, Dubai, the yacht that's basically a small country on water. It's got more features than a Swiss Army knife, more power than a drag race, and enough room to host your own mini Olympics. And remember, we're still only at number 8 on our list. The yachts are only gonna get crazier from here. Flying Fox. That's like lining up 15 school buses end to end. But it's not just big, it's packed with cool stuff. Ever heard of a yacht with its own submarine? Well, Flying Fox has one. No joke, you can literally go under the sea while you're on the sea. But that's just the start. This thing's got water toys for days. Hoverboards, sea bobs, windsurfs, flying boards. If it floats or flies over water, Flying Fox probably has it. It's like they couldn't decide what water sport to do, so they just said, let's do all of them. And get this, it's got a 12-meter pool on a boat. And it's not just any pool, this thing's got adjustable floors, massage jets and swim jets. It's like they took a fancy spa and said, you know what, let's make it bigger and put it on a yacht. But here's where it gets really wild. Flying Fox has a cryo sauna, you know, one of those super cold chambers that rich people use to feel young again. Because apparently, freezing your butt off is the new fountain of youth. Now you might be thinking, who needs all this stuff? Well, that'd be Dmitry Kamenschik, a Russian billionaire who apparently likes his yachts with a side of extreme sports. This guy's vision was to create the ultimate water sports playground, and boy did he deliver. But it's not all about the toys. Flying Fox is like a floating 5-star hotel. It's got fancy guest suites, a 2-level living room, and even a specialized gym. Because when you're on a $455 million yacht, you can't just do push-ups on the deck like a peasant. And if you're worried about getting hungry, don't be. Flying Fox has 4 chefs on board. That's right, 4. Because when you're this rich, 1 chef just isn't enough. But here's the kicker, you can actually rent this thing. For a cool $4 million a week, you too can pretend to be a Russian billionaire with a water sports obsession. Just don't forget to bring your wallet and maybe a few extra credit cards. So there you have it, Flying Fox, the yacht that's part luxury hotel, part water park and all insane. It's got more toys than a Toys R Us, more luxury than a 5-star hotel, and a price tag that'll make your eyes water. And remember, we're still only at number 7 on our list. The yachts are only gonna get crazier from here. Serene. This bad boy was built for Qatar's former Prime Minister, Hamad bin Jassim bin Jaber Al Thani. De Prince faster than you can say billion-dollar boat. We're talking about Serene, the $550 million floating palace that's changed hands quicker than a hot potato. This bad boy started life with Yuri Shefler, the Russian billionaire behind Stolichnaya vodka. But apparently one ultra-rich guy wasn't enough for this yacht. Nope. It caught the eye of Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman. And when a prince wants your toy, you sell it. For a cool $550 million, this yacht went from vodka to oil money in the blink of an eye. But what makes Serene so special? Well, for starters, it's huge. We're talking 134 meters of pure luxury. That's like stacking 44 school buses end to end. And it's not just big, it's packed with crazy features that'll make your head spin. Ever heard of a yacht with an underwater viewing room? Well, Serene's got one. You can literally watch fish swim by while sipping champagne. It's like having your own private aquarium, but way fancier. And if underwater views aren't your thing, how about a nightclub? Yep, Serene's got one of those too, because nothing says I'm rich like partying in the middle of the ocean. But wait, there's more. This thing's got a massive seawater pool, a spa, and even a full-scale library. You know, in case you get bored of being insanely wealthy and need to read about regular people. But here's where it gets really wild. Serene's got 7 decks. 7. That's more levels than some apartment buildings. And get this, it's got a helipad that can fit 2 choppers, because 1 helicopter just isn't enough when you're this loaded. Now you might be thinking, who needs all this space? Well, Serene can fit 24 guests in 12 fancy cabins, and to keep everything running smoothly, there's room for 52 crew members. That's right, 52 people just to make sure your caviar is served at the perfect temperature. But don't think Serene is just about luxury. Sailing Yacht A, a $578 million monster that's pushing the boundaries of what a yacht can be. This thing's not just big, it's massive. We're talking 142.81 meters of pure what the heck is that? It's so huge it makes other yachts look like bath toys. But it's not just the size that'll blow your mind. This bad boy was designed by Philippe Starck, the same guy who makes those funky lemon squeezers you see in fancy kitchens. Now you might be thinking, what kind of billionaire wants a yacht that looks like it came from outer space? Well, that'd be Andrei Melnichenko, a Russian industrialist who apparently got bored with regular yachts and said, "Make me something crazy." And boy, did Starck deliver. This thing's got features you wouldn't believe. Ever heard of a yacht with an underwater observation pod? Well, Sailing Yacht A's got one. You can literally sit 30 centimeters below the water and watch fish swim by. It's like having your own private submarine, but way fancier. But here's where it gets really wild. This isn't just a motor yacht. Nope, it's got sails too. 3 massive masts that make it look like some futuristic pirate ship. And get this, it's got a hybrid power plant. That's right, this thing's part sailboat, part motor yacht, all insane. Now you might be wondering, how fast can this weird boat go? Well, it can cruise at 16 knots. That might not sound fast, but for a floating sci-fi movie set, it's pretty impressive. And it's got a range of 9,890 kilometers. That's like going from New York to London and back, with enough fuel left over to cruise around the Mediterranean. But don't think Sailing Yacht A is all looks and no luxury. This thing's packed with fancy features that'll make your head spin. We're talking multiple pools, a helipad, and probably a bunch of other stuff they're keeping secret. Dilbar. We're talking about Dilbar, a $600 million beast that's got more drama than a reality TV show. This thing's not just big, it's massive. It's the largest yacht in the world by volume. That's right, this bad boy's got more space inside than some small towns. We're talking 15,917 tons of pure luxury. That's like having a whole shopping mall floating on the ocean. But here's where it gets really crazy. Dilbar's got a pool that'll make your local water park jealous. It's 82 feet long and can hold 180 cubic meters of water. That's bigger than most people's houses. No, really, you could fit a whole apartment in there. And don't even get me started on the living space. This thing's got 41,000 square feet of it. That's more space than 20 average American homes combined. You could get lost in there and not find your way out for days. Now you might be thinking, who needs all this space? Well, that'd be Alisher Usmanov, a Russian billionaire who apparently likes his boats like he likes his bank accounts. Absolutely massive. But here's the kicker. This floating palace ain't floating anymore. Nope, it's been grounded. The German government seized it faster than you can say sanctions. That's right, Dilbar's been caught up in some serious international drama. See, when Russia decided to invade Ukraine, the rest of the world wasn't too happy. They started slapping sanctions on Russian billionaires left and right. And poor old Dilbar got caught in the crossfire. The Germans figured out it belonged to Usmanov's sister, wink wink, and boom. No more sailing for this super yacht. So now, this $600 million toy is just sitting there, probably feeling pretty lonely. It's like the world's most expensive time out. And get this, it costs about $60 million a year just to keep this thing running. That's more money than most people will see in their lifetime just to keep a boat floating. But don't feel too bad for Usmanov. This guy's got more money than he knows what to do with. He's probably already planning his next super yacht. Maybe this time he'll make one that can fly, just to avoid those pesky harbor authorities. So there you have it. Dilbar, the yacht that's so big it's got its own zip code, and so expensive it got itself grounded. Azam, the speed demon that'll make your head spin. This thing's not just big, it's massive. When it was built, it was the longest motor yacht in the world. We're talking 593 feet of pure holy cow. That's huge. It's like someone took a skyscraper, turned it on its side and said, let's make it float. But Azam's not just about size. This bad boy's got speed that'll blow your mind. Most yachts this big move like a snail on vacation. Not Azam. This thing can hit over 30 knots. That's fast enough to outrun most pirate ships. Not that they'd dare mess with this floating fortress. Now you might be thinking, who needs a yacht that big and fast? Well, that'd be Sheikh Khalifa bin Zayed Al Nahyan, the former president of the UAE, because when you're in charge of a country made of oil money, you need a boat that matches your bank account. But here's where it gets really crazy. They built this monster in just 3 years. That's less time than it takes most people to decide what color to paint their living room, and we're talking about a 593-foot yacht here. Azam's got some serious power under the hood. It's got 2 diesel engines and 2 gas turbines, each pumping out 23,500 horsepower. That's more power than a whole herd of race cars. No wonder this thing can move like greased lightning. But don't think Azam is all about speed and size. This yacht's got style for days. The outside was designed by Not a Yacht, and it's sleeker than a wet seal. It's got this long, pointy front end that looks like it could slice through waves like a hot knife through butter. And the inside? Oh boy, it was done up by Christophe Leone, and it's fancier than a royal palace. We're talking luxurious decor inspired by the empire style of the early 19th century. It's like sailing on a floating Versailles, but with better Wi-Fi. But here's the kicker. Azam's got a shallow draft of 4.3 meters. That means it can go places other yachts this size wouldn't dare. It's like having a monster truck that can fit in a parking garage. Eclipse. This thing's not just a yacht, it's like a James Bond villain's hideout on steroids. Let's start with the size. Eclipse is 533 feet long. That's like lining up 5.5 blue whales nose to tail. It's so big it probably has its own zip code. But size isn't everything, right? Wrong. This yacht's got features that'll make your jaw drop. Ever heard of a yacht with a missile defense system? Well, now you have. No joke, Eclipse can detect and shoot down missiles. It's like having your own personal Iron Dome on the water. But wait, there's more. This thing's got an anti-paparazzi shield. It uses lasers to mess up any photos taken of the boat. Because when you're this rich, privacy is priceless. Now you might be wondering, who needs all this security? That'd be Roman Abramovich, the Russian billionaire who used to own Chelsea Football Club. This guy wanted a yacht that was part luxury cruise, part military vessel, and boy did he get it. But Eclipse isn't just about defense. It's got some crazy features that'll blow your mind. Ever heard of a yacht with its own submarine? Well, Eclipse has one. It can dive up to 50 meters deep. It's like having your own personal yellow submarine, but way fancier. And if underwater adventures aren't your thing, how about some air travel? Eclipse has got not 1, but 2 helipads. Because sometimes you need options when deciding which helicopter to take to dinner. But don't think Eclipse is all about gadgets and gizmos. This thing's got luxury for days. We're talking 17 staterooms, a massive owner's deck, and a pool so big it can double as a dance floor. It's like they took a 5-star hotel and said, let's make it float. And get this, Eclipse has a range of 6,000 nautical miles. That's like going from New York to London and back, with enough fuel left over to cruise around the Mediterranean. History supreme. That's billion with a B. You could buy a small island nation for that kind of cash. But nah, some rich guy decided to make a boat instead. So what makes this floating palace so pricey? 2 words, precious metals. This thing's got more gold and platinum than Fort Knox. We're talking 100,000 kilograms of the stuff. That's like 220,000 pounds. You could make a life-size statue of King Kong out of that much metal and still have some left over. But it's not just about the bling. This yacht's got features that'll make your head spin. Ever heard of a boat with a wall made from a T-Rex bone? Well, now you have. No, really, there's an actual dinosaur bone stuck on a wall in this thing, because when you're this rich, regular art just doesn't cut it anymore. Now you might be thinking, who needs a boat made of gold? Well, that'd be Robert Kuok, a Malaysian businessman who apparently likes his yachts like he likes his jewelry. Solid gold. But here's where it gets weird. Some people aren't sure if this golden wonder even exists. Yeah, you heard that right. There's a whole debate about whether this $4.8 billion yacht is real or just a really expensive myth. See, no one's ever actually seen this thing. There are no photos, no videos, nothing. It's like the Loch Ness monster of yachts. Some folks think it's just a fancy PR stunt. Others say it's hidden away somewhere, too precious to be seen by us regular folk. And get this, the guy who designed it, Stuart Hughes, has a history of making super expensive gold-plated stuff. He once made a $7.8 million gold-plated TV, so maybe this yacht is just his biggest, craziest idea yet. But real or not, History Supreme has got people talking. It's like the ultimate what if of the yacht world. The future of luxury yachting. You thought we were done with crazy yachts. Think again. We've seen boats with dinosaur bones, gold-plated everything, and even missile defense systems. But where do we go from here? The future of luxury yachting is wilder than you can imagine. These floating palaces aren't just getting bigger, they're getting smarter. We're talking AI captains, self-cleaning hulls, and engines that run on seawater. No, really. Some folks are working on yachts that can power themselves using the ocean. But it's not all about tech. The super rich want their boats to be eco-friendly too. Imagine a yacht that leaves the water cleaner than it found it. Sounds crazy, right? But it's happening. And get this. Some designers are thinking about underwater yachts. That's right, boats that can dive like submarines, because when you're this rich, sailing on top of the water just ain't enough anymore.